Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of Andor, episode 12, the season finale, Rix Road. An incredible season of Star Wars storytelling ended in a finale packed with hidden details and deeper layers of meaning no one else is really talking about, including why the writing on Maarva's brick is actually a huge deal when you translate it, and a secret change to Maarva's speech that only the sharpest of lip readers could probably catch. I'm gonna break it all down. Let's get started. And thanks to Boxu for sponsoring this video. More on their tasty offerings later. We open, as always, with Nicholas Bertel's updated music. Over a steady drum beat, a mix of horns come together. This is the music of Maarva's funeral march that congeals into a battle charge this episode. Every episode this season has really been the sounds of Maarva's Barrick's funeral band getting into tune and eventually playing the same theme. A really awesome parallel. Now in this episode, the product of this music is what looks like the earliest open revolt against the Empire in Star Wars history. Now obviously Saw Gerrera and Luthen and Anto Krieger were involved in all kinds of criminal plots, but like the Boston Massacre in 1770 leading to the American Revolution, this is one early instance where blood was shed and average folks rose up on their own. We're rioting now? We're rioting now! We start with this close-up of Wilman Pox soldering the fuse for the explosive that'll later throw in this riot. This mirrors the close-up of the tinkering droids in the post-credits scene where they fuse the Narkina 5 parts into the Death Star. Each side, Rebellion and Empire, building weapons to kill the other, recalling Luthen's line of being damned to use the tools of his enemy to destroy them. But really, these sparks and whiffs of smoke are lighting the fuses for much more explosive fireworks later on in time. Wilman Pock is the son of Salman Pock, whose appearance here glows in remembrance on Wilman's desk. Salman is the parts shop owner who hid the radio for Bix to use and was arrested in episode 8 and last seen post-torture until Captain Van Estigo took care of him off screen in episode 9.
I'd like to hang him. What's left of him, anyway. Make sure they know who's in charge.
As you wish.
We cut back to Wilman repeatedly in these opening minutes as he gingerly assembles each piece of the device, plugging in cables and twisting them into place. Each piece is covered in dirt and grime and rust, a recurring theme in this episode.
People don't look down the way they should. They don't look down, they don't look past the rust.
There is a darkness reaching like rust into everything around us.
But Wilman looks past the rust to innovate something to hurt the Empire. He finally dials up the charge, and the ascending lights give this the feel of Wilman's own handheld Death Star, which would charge up and light up in a similar way before it would bring utter destruction. Wilman, you may fire when ready. Dedra Meero's Lambda-class shuttle lands on Barracks beside this larger four-winged vessel. This is actually a Zeta-class cargo shuttle, first seen in Rogue One over Jedha, and later landed on Scarif. As she walks on the deck, she's flanked by Death Troopers. These are the troopers that accompanied Krennic in Rogue One's opening scene. In Bix's cell, the security camera pivots to face her. Again, this is the same 6-grid design as the cameras Han and Chewie shoot out on the Death Star, but it's so unnerving to be alone in a room with a stationary camera that suddenly turns to face you. What, was your lens not wide enough? Do you really need me to be centered for your shot right now? Zan connects with Brasso, and at first we don't even notice Zan in the out-of-focus foreground blending in with the bricks. It's implied that these bricks are all composed of dead Phyrexians, and Zan will become one of the casualties of this riot. As they goss, Nurchi watches them from the shop where a speeder is being dismantled. It's painted green and orange or yellow. I thought maybe it could be Anakin's speeder from Attack of the Clones, or maybe a pod racer. Tony Gilroy did let his art department go crazy with background references, so I'm sure it's something. They also pass a shop where a man in a bucket hat tinkers with the droid. I just love how busy everything feels on Ferrix. Nurchi buys Zan some drinks trying to get info from him because we learn he is a snitch for the Empire. But remember, he needs this money because he previously loaned money to Cassian and Cassian never paid him back. So really, Nurchi was a product of Cassian's own mistakes. Mon Mothma opens her collar to breathe, which is a recurring theme on this series. Characters being smothered and choked and otherwise bound, either by the Empire or by themselves, but all of it a result of the Empire's tight grip. A grip that as it gets tighter, more star systems slip through its fingers. But here Mon confronts her husband Perrin about his gambling, knowing that her driver Cloris is eavesdropping on them. So was Perrin actually gambling? On one hand, she wasn't surprised when Pavo Skolden last episode said that he knew Perrin, suggesting that Pavo was a loan shark to Perrin in the past. But think about it, Mon is smart enough to know that Cloris is listening in. I think she's throwing Perrin under the bus to have a plausible cover story for the missing credits from her account when the Empire eventually checks it, which would justify why this honorable senator would marry off her daughter to the family of a notorious crook. Because later, as Cloris reports this all to Blevin, Blevin says,
"They've made some odd banking moves recently. This would certainly explain it."
I think that's why rather than fully shutting down defensively, Perrin has a valid counter-argument.
This is wrong, Mom. This is people trying to take you down by coming after me.
And notice how it legitimately hurts Mon to hear Perrin try to explain where these gambling rumors are coming from. Deep down, she knows she is the one betraying him here. And you probably noticed Mon referencing Canto Bight, the casino planet from The Last Jedi. You know, as we mentioned it, Rian Johnson's amazing tracking shot over the tables of that casino was an homage to William A. Wellman's tracking shot of the 1927 film Wings. One of my favorite practical shots in which tables and chairs were pulled apart right as the camera passed over them. Also, incredibly, I noticed there is a same-sex couple there in 1927, and we have come so far. Cassian finds Clem's brick on the wall covered in moss and in roots, suggesting that all the other memorial bricks are tidied up by loved ones, but since Maarva has died and Cassian's been gone, no one has really cleaned Clem's brick. The Orabesh on that brick is the same font as the scrapyard sign, which reads Zorbies with the letters distorted, so it's kind of hard to tell. But here, the same font translates to Clem Andor, but the birth date above and the death date below are worn off. We cut to a flashback seeing young Cassian only from behind, as we did in the flashback before, but we never see young Cassian's face. Because think about it, adult Cassian only remembers these from what he saw, not from how he looked, which is how we all see our memories. Clem says,
The man that sees everything is more blessed than cursed.
and he says how most people don't look past the rust of something, but with just 2 minutes of cleaning, you can find a diamond in the rough. This is the gambit that Cassian poses to Luthen at the end of the episode. Look past the rust of me and see how valuable I can be to the rebellion. Cassian again rode into the Corellian hounds in the scrapyard and reunites with Pelgo, back from earlier in the season, played by Kieran O'Brien, aka Jamie Tartt's dad on Ted Lasso. And what follows is yet another amazing speech on the series, Nemik's full manifesto passage, which we only heard a piece of last episode, but we start with Bix and with Luthen.
There will be times when the struggle seems impossible. I know this already. Alone, unsure, dwarfed by the scale of the enemy. Remember this. Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction. Random acts of insurrection are occurring constantly throughout the galaxy. There are whole armies, battalions that have no idea that they've already enlisted in the cause.
This idea of freedom being the natural state and control being an unnatural act comes from the political philosophy of John Locke, who wrote that the fundamental purpose of government is to enshrine liberties from tyranny that humans can impose on each other, which is why the American Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, is a list of freedoms as opposed to an enumeration of government powers, which the rest of the Constitution was. So, is Nemik a libertarian or is he a Marxist? Psst, both can be true, folks. Classic political theory doesn't have a modern voter registration. So, maybe don't ban books. Luthen looks out over the Ferrix town, which is illuminated by lightning in the distance. I love the visuals here. It's like natural forces are charging this town to the point of explosion. And Luthen observes how all of his plans of an organic uprising are coming to fruition. Nemik's voice continues.
Remember that the frontier of the rebellion is everywhere, and even the smallest act of insurrection pushes our lines forward. The Imperial need for control is so desperate because it is so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks. It leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that.
Yes, this is the section that we heard a snippet of last episode. Oppression is the mask of fear. It invokes the mask of Darth Vader, a symbol of oppression, but a facade masking the fearful, brittle, broken soul underneath. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. Also, Imperial control being unnatural, words spoken by Palpatine himself, because after all, the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. But notice how Cassian tosses the manifesto aside, no longer reading along as Nemik finishes the passage.
The day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance, will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and then there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege. Remember this. Try.
Try, a philosophical counterpart to Yoda's teachings to Luke and Dagobah. Do or do not, there is no try, which is an eternally puzzling statement. Is effort wasted if it doesn't have a result? No, I don't think that's what Yoda's saying. His point is really to stop focusing on your own inner hurdles and instead focus on your impact on the outside world. Envision the change you will inevitably enact and bridge your present with your future. But I like that Nemik counters Yoda, because these rebels don't have the luxury of enlightened Jedi philosophy. They don't have the luxury of future. They burn their decency for someone else's future. They burn their lives to make a sunrise they know they'll never see. Trapped in their present, all they have is try. The ISB celebrate their successful trap on Anto Krieger.
It was over before they started. Prisoners. Not today.
And remember, Young is a rebel spy who tried to save Anto Krieger's group, but Luthen let them die to preserve Young's status as the spy. And I like how he twitches his mouth as he says, "Not today," a little subtle masking of his true feelings in this moment. And by the way, Anto Krieger's hollow projection last episode was designed using the likeness of Andor graphic designer Barrick. The screen behind Partagaz shows the spellhouse surface. The Orvesh reads Imperial Saturation, which could mean those red circles are where stormtroopers are located, clearing out Krieger's group. Boxu is hands down the best Japanese snack subscription. They work with family businesses all across Japan to deliver a new theme of authentic treats every month. The first box will be Seasons of Japan, but after that you'll get a new monthly theme just like this one. This month's theme is Autumn Koyo, which is the Japanese word for the autumn leaves changing colors. I just love that there is a word for that. Isn't that beautiful? It comes with this booklet that tells you all the snacks you're eating, where they come from, a little information about all of them, what kind of flavors you can expect. One I'm gonna try is a matcha butter cookie, the Fukuoka. You know, as I get older, I don't really need the overwhelmingly sweet flavors. It's just all sugar. I like a bit of a mix, a bit of a texture, right? Give it a shot. Oh, that's really good. Oh, that's so good. Like, the flavor of this thing is not like anything you're gonna find at like the corner store. It's unique, it's matcha-y, and it's just really nice to savor. I could eat a million of these things. And you know what the really nice thing about Boxu is that when you really fall in love with a snack, you can stock up on your favorites through Boxu Boutique. Both I and the new Rockstars office have been receiving these boxes for ages, and we love them. Plus, every time you get your Boxu in the mail, you can feel good knowing that you're supporting family businesses all the way in Japan. So if you wanna try some rare Japanese snacks with us and support the channel, click the link in the description and use code ROCKSTARS15 to get $15 off your order. Korv watches over the Andor home and sees B2EMO leave with Zan wearing Brasso's clothes. What? They give him the slip! So Brasso meets Cassian and gives him Maarva's final message to him.
Tell him none of this is his fault. It was already burning. He's just the first spark of the fire. Tell him he knows everything he needs to know and feels everything he needs to feel. And when the day comes that those two pull together, he will be an unstoppable force for good. I love him more than anything he could ever do wrong.
First spark, you say?
No, we are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
But to know everything you need to know and feel everything you need to feel, those two pulling together, that, in a sense, is do or do not, there is no try. Know what you need to know is your destined impact in the future. Feeling what you need to feel right now is your present struggle. So merging the subconscious with the conscious, our future with our present, is how we become unstoppable. And fittingly, notice how Maarva calls the fusion of the conscious with the subconscious a force. Whatever words these characters are using to talk about it, they're talking about the same thing. On the transport, Mosk gives Cyril his orange hat. They swap hats. Back in episode 3, Cyril and Mosk's pre-Moore uniforms included orange build caps for the officers of this unit, while the others had blue build caps. So this is Mosk signaling to Cyril that he is the commander of this duo. The time grappler straps the anvil early, and we cut to the marching band warming up. Their instruments look like modified French horns and flutes and trumpets. On the brick wall beside the Daughters of Barrick is Orbish graffiti translating to Andor, likely in honor of Maarva Andor. They start the funeral early to clear more men from the hotel to leave Bix less guarded. This idea of using a funeral as a cover for a plot is something that we've seen before from the Joker in The Dark Knight and from the 7th Cavalry and HBO's Watchmen, and this sequence has similar tension rising beneath as we cut from character to character. It's also something uniquely prohibited by the PORD, using a local cultural custom as a cover for rebel activity. Brasso presents Maarva's brick, and again the Orvesh is distorted in the font I mentioned earlier, but it translates to Maarva Andor. And above, the numbers 7895.330.9, that is her birth date, and below 7972.216.4, her date of death. And I know it's rude to do the math here, but that would make Maarva 77 at the time of her death. But these numbers are hugely significant because this is the CRC dating system instead of the BBY and ABY system that we've typically used, and what this series used in its first episode's on-screen title. CRC, or Hosnian Reckoning, was first used in Pablo Hidalgo's 2018 Scum and Villainy case files on the galaxy's most notorious, and Hidalgo said that they used this dating system on the brick because these characters would not know the Battle of Yavin is coming. So Maarva died in 7972, and Princess Leia gets arrested in 7977, 5 years from now. I really love this attention to detail. Cassian listens to the music here. A gentle breeze flows past him, which you could read as Maarva's essence comforting him in this moment, another way that the Force is seen as being tied with the natural world. Everyone chants Stone and Sky, which seems like their way of invoking this transition of the deceased spirit from the brick to the heavens. And that is literally what happens here as Maarva's postmortem recording is played. B beams it up from his head, explaining why he was so insistent to stay at Maarva's home last episode and didn't want to be moved, and why Maarva's body was shown so closely from his point of view. Her essence was staying with him in that moment. Also, when her corpse was taken out, we saw B's translucent reflection on the window hovering over her body. Now it's reversed. Her translucent form hovers over B. She says,
Where you stand now, I've been more times than I can remember. I always wanted to be lifted. I was always eager, always waiting to be inspired. I remember every time it happened, every time the dead lifted me.
This is taking place on Rix Road, the title of this episode. This is a street that Maarva previously said she used to avoid because it's where Clem was hanged, and she didn't want to be reminded of that. So in her pre-death moments, she is pondering, feeling like she was already dead, lifted up beside Clem. Her speech is beautiful and it cuts deep.
The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness. It is never more alive than when we sleep.
Yeah, casting the Empire as a disease echoes the way Partagas described the rebellion.
We are healthcare providers. We treat sickness. We identify symptoms. We locate germs, whether they arise from within or have come from the outside. The longer we wait to identify a disorder, the harder it is to treat the disease.
And Maarva closes.
It's easy for the dead to tell you to fight. And maybe it's true. Maybe fighting's useless. Perhaps it's too late. But I'll tell you this. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting these bastards from the start. Fight the Empire!
Right, two things about Fiona Shaw's delivery there. One, her read on bastards. And two, the profanity she said that you didn't hear, because look closely at Fiona's mouth on fight the Empire.
Fight the Empire!
Yeah, she did not enunciate the word fight there. The teeth do not come down to make the T. It was a back of the mouth consonant there. She definitely said the Empire. It looks like they dubbed it with fight and they used the projector glitching a little bit to mask it. Just think about it. B's adorable stutter helped cover Maarva's potty mouth, and the Disney censors shut it down by knocking over the projector. And knocking over this precious droid breaks the dam. Brasso uses Maarva's brick to smash the guard. So if you think about it, Maarva herself was literally among the first punches here. Willman throws his explosive and it knocks over a bin of grenades, causing a devastating chain reaction that kills Nurchi, and the blast blows out Bix's windows, because before she was reluctant to leave herself because she was so traumatized, but that deafening blast finally cleared the sounds of the Dysonite screams from her head long enough for her to leave. Tivo orders the stormtroopers to fire at will, and it's so hurtful to see all these people get gunned down, including an elderly daughter of Barrick, and Zan in a rage jumps on a stormtrooper and gets shot himself. The camera stays on him for several seconds, forcing us to take it in. The time grappler continues to pound the anvil to call more people to join the mob, and that stormtrooper who tries to stop him gets a full Leonidas kick. This is Barrick! And a reminder that this time grappler is played by Neil Bell, who played the badass starter car leader in Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Cyril saves Dedra from the mob, and I love how Denise Goff plays this moment, terrified, overwhelmed with emotion, trying to keep her cool, and thank God these two do not kiss. I don't think I could handle that. Cassian and Bix meet up with Brasso and Jezzy, B and Willman and Pelga, planning to retreat to Ganji Moon.
Stay low all the way to Farsight Sea. The moment you get over the water, you climb.
Ah, there's that word again. Climb! Nemik's order to Cassian to escape Aldani. Kino's order to all the prisoners to escape in K2SO's final word to Cassian on Scarif and Rogue One. And notice the ships in Zorby's shipyard include the cockpit of a Y-Wing that's painted yellow, but its back engines are not fully intact. Maybe it's mid-transition from the earlier model BTL Y-Wing Starfighter. On the right, painted blue and white, is the same model as the Bestoon Legacy, that's Ochia Bestoon starship in The Rise of Skywalker. And then the back on the right is a VCX 100 light freighter that's the same model as the Ghost, Hera Syndulla's ship in Rebels. Mon Mothma and Perrin hand off their daughter Leia to Pavo Skolden and his son, and that little culty girl is into it. Notice how Mon now wears blue and gold, the colors of House Skolden, to mark her consent to this gross union. Cassian gives Luthen the option to shoot him.
What game is this?
No game. Kill me or take me in.
And Luthen smiles because he's reminded of what he told Cassian in this same spot back in episode 4.
Wouldn't you rather give it all at once to something real than carve off useless pieces till there's nothing left?
The post-credit scene confirms what we suspected about the Narkina 5 parts. They are loaded into place as joint pieces to assemble the Death Star. Like the prisoners of Narkina 5, these droids are grouped together to load each one into place. Part of the same exact assembly line as all those prisoners were. As was the case in Rogue One, they use scale so well to convey the immensity of the Death Star. We start small and close up to give a sense of each individual part and pull back more and more and more to show each of these massive pieces coming together to form the Death Star's focus dish, a piece that we'll finally see lowered into place in one of the early shots of Rogue One. Now the planet in the background is definitely Scarif. You can see the same exact landmass in the water where the Scarif base will be built in that movie. So it is confirmed that Cassian helped build the weapon that will one day be used to kill him. But the riot he helped orchestrate did help delay the Death Star's construction just long enough for the rebels to get their hands on the schematics that they can use to bring this battle station down. I so loved Andor, and I hope these breakdowns helped you appreciate that Easter eggs aren't always obvious stuff like loath cats and lightsabers. Sometimes they're just cool attention to detail hidden in Orvesh. And I will always appreciate Andor for making a great Star Wars story, not out of nostalgia for other titles, but really out of its own great character development and its own great story. 10 out of 10. Hey, if you want to see me live, along with Tommy Bechtold, Jessica Clemens, Brandon Barrick, and Zach Huddleston, we will be at the LA Comic-Con this Sunday, December 4th. I would love to be able to geek out with you in person. Come meet us and hang out. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and now Hive at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.